Hello everybody and welcome to a new video of Lag Poker. Today I am going to analyze some hands from the session I posted last Monday. As anticipated, there are some hands which as of now I would have played differently. The session was played about 1 year ago, and since then I studied more, and I think and I hope I'm a better player than I was back then. And so let's see these hands. So the first hand was this king queen off. The button chose to open, and I chose here to call, which I think it's fine. I think we should both call or 3-bet, probably not, which is awesome, of course. I would not lead out. I would lead. I mean, if I knew my opponent is a recreational player, I think sometimes leading out is okay. But I would still prefer check raise, simply because, you know, by check raising we build the pot even more, and I think a recreational player will bet this board at a certain frequency and will have a lot of sticky hands that he won't be able to fold. So I still prefer the check raise even versus a recreational player. Unlikely he checks back, and my turn to choose. I mean, I don't know if he's a recreational player. I don't think he is. Yeah, I think we could go either ways here. Once again, if I think he's a bad player, I think we should bet, but not only if he's a bad player. I think even versus unknowns, it's usually better to bet this one, because, you know, people are passive, and I think in spots like this we should just bet. Also because it's not that easy to check raise and get maximum value unless he has a 2-pair kind of thing like this. So yeah, I think given that I don't expect to get much action from a check raise, given that he might be passive and check back too much, it's probably just better to bet big here, in my opinion, in the field. Doesn't matter if villain is a recreational or an unknown regular. Of course, guys, if you think your opponent is a let's say a good, decent regular, I think checking could be better. But let's see what he did. Check back, time to bet on the river. I go here for the small size, which, to be honest, I don't like it that much. I think if I choose to bet, I should bet a bit bigger. Same thing, I don't expect him to raise ever as a bluff in the field, of course. I'm not saying he will never do or he never should, but I'm just saying that I don't think the field does it that much, and so I think he's just gonna call or fold, and I think all in all it's better to bet big here. And yeah, at the end, I think he chose to call. He had ace-king, which I think was a bit of a passive line on his side. I think on the turn he could have bet, or he could also have raised on the river for team value versus my sizing. But let's see this hand on Deep Solver, on GT Wizard. We will use Deep Solver for other hands. This one is pretty straightforward versus a regular, so I think the standard solution is gonna be just fine. And let's put the spot. So bottom versus big blind, single raise spot. Okay, the board was Jack 10, 9, a rainbow. I don't care about the suites, to be honest. We have no betting range. Okay, that was no surprise. Villain chose here to check back, and the turn was an ace, and I think it was a suited ace. Let me see. Yeah, it was a suited ace. So let's go back here to put the ace of hearts. And here I chose to check with my king queen, which is pretty much mixed. Yeah, versus a good player we can do both check or bet. And also the sizing, as you see, we use all kind of sizing with king queen. So I would say that yeah, probably in the field I still prefer to just bet big, and that's it. They're not gonna raise enough, and they're not gonna bet enough probably. So even if I checked here, I think in the field versus an unknown, I should just bet myself. And I think on the long run it's gonna be a better decision in the field. Anyway, I checked, and let's see if he should have checked back ace king. Yeah, ace king actually was a check a decent amount of times. I would expect him to bet a bit more frequently with this hand, but yeah, that's it. He checked back, the river was a 4 of diamonds, something like this, and Here I chose to bet small. Let's see what we do, king queen. We can both bet or check once again, but when we bet, I think, well, once again we use all kind of sizings with king queen, but I think we should just bet big once again in the field. So yeah, I mean, if I went back playing this hand again, I would say, I mean, even if theoretically speaking it's not that bad as we saw, I think we should definitely go for the big size. Also because, as you see, technically speaking, if I bet small as I did, the bottom should raise here with ace king, which he didn't do. And so yeah, this is a proof of what I was saying. The field is not that aggressive. They don't make this kind of thin raises, thin value bets, bluff raises, and so on. So I think we should just go straight to the point when we are playing versus an unknown. But yeah, let's move on. To the other hand, I think I was not playing super well. Okay, so the hand is this one. We have pocket jacks. We chose to open from the small blind and from the cutoff, and the small blind chose to call. It's a regular, or at least I marked him as a regular, so this makes the call pretty weird. Let's see the hand and then we'll see on deep solver. Of course, this spot I'm gonna put it on deep solver because I think his calling range was wider because the big blind was a recreational player. So I will put on deep solver a range which I expect him to use in this kind of situation. And he checks. I chose here to c-bet, and I think again, I mean, if you think the field, the average regular of the field is passive or too passive, I think it's fine to bet here. Otherwise, I think it's a check, especially when we are 150x deep. You know, typically when the stacks get bigger, our betting ranges get more polarized, we do more checking, and I think this kind of hand should be checked when we're playing 150 big blinds deep. Anyway, here just to bet, I guess I was betting my range here in my mind. Maybe I was distracted and I wasn't even considering he is deep with a deeper stack. King hits once again. Deep stack I think is a check, but here I guess I went for the value bet. And this is still something which I don't dislike if we think he is passive, because if you think he is passive, I love this line, betting on the flop, even maybe a bit bigger. Betting the turn, not so small, and checking back the river usually, or betting small again would be a nice idea versus somebody who we expect not to bluff enough, not to raise enough, and so on. You know, some of the value in checking this kind of hand on the turn comes from villain bluffing us on the river, or team value betting something worse than what we have now. If we don't expect him to bluff or to team value bet something like pocket tens or pocket nines, if he has it in his range, I'm not sure. Then I think betting is a much superior play here. But you know, we're playing NL200 villain. I marked him as a regular, so I think we should probably tend forward playing a bit more theoretically optimal than exploitatively assuming that he is passive. I'm not sure. I mean, if he was a bad player, I would definitely play this hand this way, but we don't know that, so I'm not in love with this line. I think we should protect our checking range as well. Okay, he fault. Let's see on deep solver the spot. So I already put in the solution to spare some time, to save some time. The board was this. I put the stacks 150 big blinds deep. And this that you see right now is the calling range that I assumed he could have, considering that the big blind was a recreational player. I assume he might sometimes choose to just call with those kind of hands, trying to let the big blind player in the pot. So it might be a bit different, of course. You may have a different idea. This was just my guess. And he should, of course, check range. And as we see, yes, pocket jacks, so it's not a mistake to bet it, but it's mainly a check. We should especially bet the combination with spade and heart, or at least with a spade. That's its favorite, it seems like. Well, not only actually. Yeah, he likes to have. He likes to have some combos of that. Let's see which combo precisely I had. I had spade and diamond, so looks like a decent one to bet to me. it was the one who was betting sometimes. But still, I mean, probably it's just better to check it when you're this deep. And I chose to bet here, and oops, let me log in again. Okay, and sorry for the interruption, but I had to log in again. Probably I logged out of inactivity because I made a solution before. And so on the turn king, I mean, my opponent checked, and now pocket jacks is clearly a check. I mean, still can bet sometimes, but to be honest, I don't think I would. Given this solution, I mean, I don't think I would bet this kind of hand in general. So yeah, I mean, it would be okay, I think, versus some kind of players, but I don't like this hand versus a random regular at NL200 Rush&Cash. So yeah, I think I could have done better there. Let's move to the last hand that I think I may have fucked up. Okay, here we are. We have the cutoff opening from the cutoff, of course, and we're in the small blind with ace-10 off. It's typically just a fold, and I think it's just a fold. Here, I think I mean, given that the big blind is a bad player, I leveled myself into calling, but I think ace-10 is still such a bad call here. I really don't like it. I think it's a big mistake here, even if the big blind is a bad player. Of course, if he had ace-10 suited, I think it's a hand we should definitely choose to call instead of 3-betting in this kind of table and with the weak player on our left. But ace-10 off is, I think it's just too weak, in my opinion, to make this defense. I think in the long run we're just gonna lose money versus the original raiser, who is probably a regular. And anyway, here I chose to call, and we have this sweet flop. We chose to check, and I think I check raised, which I mean, still could be done. I would say I'll probably do it versus the button, versus the cutoff. Maybe he's a bit too tight to do that. And let's see what he does. Let's see if I remember correctly. Yeah, he bets very small actually. To this sizing, 1/4 pot, I don't mind it. It's probably to this really small size. I think we could raise sometimes. But yeah, so I don't dislike the raise here. See what he does. He calls, turn is the ace, and here I think I should bet again for the same reasons that I explained for the king queen end. Okay, maybe checking could be decent. I'm not sure about that either, but you know, if you expect the field to be relatively passive, I think once we check here, we're going to face a lot of checks back. So I think in general we shouldn't check here versus the field. I think we're just gonna lose a ton of value here. Also, we are kind of at the top of our range. I don't know how frequently we should check this hand. He checks back, no surprises there, and I chose, I guess, at this point to validate on the river, which I don't mind that much. I don't think it's gonna bluff that much, but I chose to check. Let's see. I don't remember neither the hand. I marked it, but then I forgot what he did. Yeah, same problem. I mean, I think after check raising the flop and him checking back the turn, I think he's still not gonna bet that much on the river. And also he will, with the 70, he might have picked up something like 7-8, you know, and just be happy to show on, who knows. And he checks back, so yeah, I really don't like this hand. I think it was played poorly from the pre-flop to the river. I mean, I don't like to call it pre-flop. The check raise maybe is fine, we'll see. And I don't like the turn, I don't like the river. I think it's just bad. Let's see. I had to use the deep solver because, of course, I normally do not have, and nobody does have this kind of calling range typically. So I had to add a calling range, which also included ace-10 off time to time. And we are not on betting, and villain bets. I blocked his sizing, 25% of the pot. And here is what we should do versus this kind of sizing. As you see, I mean, ace-10 is typically a call. I mean, it's still not a raise. I thought it was a raise because of the very small sizing, but still, we are not gonna raise that. Probably if villain is using a multiple sizing strategy, I guess the small one is going to be more full of weak decent hands, and maybe when he's using a two-size strategy we can raise in the small sizing and just call to the bigger one. Maybe now the solver is never raising this hand because I chose to have a mono size 25%. But anyway, I don't think villain was mixing. I think if he bet there 25% is probably just his sizing, and almost nobody uses two sizes here. So I think even if theoretically speaking he should use more sizing and then maybe in the 25% pot I should raise this hand, I think in reality if villain will probably play more like 25% range rather than betting this thing. And so here I chose to call. We could also lock actually to see, because maybe he was betting range and I don't think here it was betting range. Yeah, we can see also that, because if he's really betting range with this sizing, then I think we can raise with ace 10. We'll see. Anyway, let's see how the hand is right now. So here we chose to just raise. Okay, here we are on the turn after my check raise, and here, as you see, ace 10 should be still a bet in the pretty big one the few times we raised. So yeah, the check was definitely a mistake, even theoretically speaking. So I wanted to see if by making villain betting range with that sizing, which probably what was happening in the end actually, I wanted to see if my ace 10 raise would be a bit better. And let's see, I made a little mistake when I was putting the solution. I chose 1000 as effective select instead of 970, but it's not gonna make a huge difference, of course. So I am going to check. Let's choose a bet range from villain by hand locking that. Okay, and let's calculate to see if my raise now is a bit better. This will be, of course, something good to know, because then my assumption would be okay. Let's see. Here we are, and check villain bet range, and now ace 10 off. Yeah, now it's definitely a hand we would like to raise sometimes. So yeah, I'm a bit more happy of this hand. Still, I thought it was at the first time I analyzed this hand, I thought I was wrong also with their check raise, but my assumption there was that he was betting range with a 25% pot size bet, and given that assumption, the raise with ace 10 is definitely okay. So yeah, I'm a bit less unhappy now. And let's see actually also if I choose to raise here, what does happen. Sorry, let me go back once. This sizing we use with this is raise big, okay, and he called, and the turn was actually an ace. It was the ace of diamonds, and let's see what does it change if we can choose some sizing. Let's say we can bet small or big, and let's say villain can also bet bigger than this. Okay, let's bet 3 and apply, and let's calculate this solution. Okay, here we are, and now still ace 10 was definitely a bet. So yeah, the check on the turn was definitely a mistake, both theoretically and in practice, in my opinion. So too bad for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm at least happy that I noticed that those hands were a bit off, and so it's always good to review your hands so you get to see these kind of things, because you know our understanding of the game evolves with time, and it's good to look back and see what we were doing wrong before, because you know it's really important to see our progress. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. I will post a lot more of this, and remember that with our partners GTO Wizard and Deep Solver, we have discounts. You will find the links both in the video and in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.